Hey guys, we're going to look at our 2.2, the part 2 of the cost of credit. And let's see, make sure that I have the right file open here. And some of you may be familiar with spreadsheets, and some of you this might be brand new. Spreadsheets are one of my favorite things, and once you get used to them, you will see like they are so powerful, and the things that we can use them for, and how if we can write a formula, how then the computer just does all the work. I don't have to worry about pushing the wrong key on my calculator, doing the math out by hand. I just have to make sure I type in some numbers, and then like there are things you still have to type in at some point. But if I make a mistake, I don't have to redo the whole thing. I just fix just the mistake, and the other things magically change. So this is what your assignment is going to look like. For the beginning, we're going to talk about some lump sum payments, like the things that we did yesterday, where we found, in some cases, we found compound interest, but they were compound interest, but only one payment, right? So it was just, this is kind of review of yesterday. And remember yesterday we had those different situations. These are going to be like our situations, basically. These are the ones that were not simple interest. So I think this started with like number 3. And then the principal was $5,000. And the interest rate, you're going to love this. In a spreadsheet, you can choose to move the decimal yourself, or you can put 5.5 with a percent sign, and then it knows what to do with that. Okay? Or you could put 0.055. I'm using tab to get from one to the other, or you could just click in a different box. That situation was 4 years, and it was only being compounded one time a year. That was the compounded annually. And then here's where the magic is going to happen. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in, I'm going to create a formula that tells it what to do. Now, when you get yours, there's already going to be a formula typed in here. So you won't have to create this formula. I'm going to have you create some other formulas though. So anytime we type in a formula, we want to tell it equal so that it knows I'm not typing text. It knows, hey, a formula is coming. So now I'm going to type in a formula, and I could type in like I would put it in the calculator. I could type my 500 times 1 plus the percentage, but then it's only good for this one problem. So if instead I tell it where to find the information, we call that the address, the cell address. And all the boxes in a spreadsheet have addresses. They are named by their column and then their number. So we know that we would want to be doing the 5,000, the principal. So that principal is living in B2. Sounds like I'm talking about a person. So B2, and we want to multiply that. So we use the star for multiply. And then inside parentheses, we would be doing 1 plus. And remember that we're going to make this formula so we could use it for this problem and the harder problems. So remember the one formula that said where we take the interest rate and we divide it by the number of periods? That was our n. So we're going to take C2, divide it by is down under the question mark without the shift, E2. because that's where the number of periods in a year lives. Close up my parentheses. And then remember that had an exponent on the outside. So that little caret with shift and 6, that's my exponent. And then in the exponent, for the formula, I would have to use parentheses again because I need to do D2 times E2. Because I times the number of years times the periods in a year. And then close up the parentheses. And then when I hit equal or hit enter, and notice it gives me like the big messy decimal. Well, I don't want that to be formatted that way. I want it to be dollars. So I'm going to click this dollar sign, and then it knows to give it a dollar sign and to only keep 2 decimal places. So here's where the magic, that seemed like so much work, but here's where the magic happens. My next question, the principal is 5,000 and the rate was 4.5%, or just 4.5. I think on the paper it may have said 4.50. It was again for 4 years, but it was quarterly, so 4 times a year. Now, instead of redoing the formula, we're going to copy it by taking this bottom corner and dragging it down. Now, the ones down here where there's no information yet, it's going to give you an error message for now, all right? And then you'll see that that's the same number we got for that answer. So also, if you didn't finish that last page from yesterday, this is going to give you those answers. All right? So you're going to drag this down. So I'm going to take it off here so that you have a chance to copy it. Now, we're also going to want to know how much interest was paid. So you want to think, how would I know the interest? Well, we got the interest from taking the amount and subtracting the principal. So instead of typing in here 6194.12 minus 5,000, let's tell where it lives. Let's give the address. So I'm typing equal, because that's how I put in a formula. And then I'm going to type, well, let's see, the amount was in F2 minus the principal, which is in B2. And then hit equal. So my next one, I had a 5,000 at 5% for 3 years. That was semi-annual. And then notice after I put all that information in, magic, right? Magic. Not really magic. And then again, we can drag this formula down. When you drag down the formula, it does something called relative address, which means it knew that top one was, you were talking about row 2. So when you drug it down to row 3, it uses row 3. If you click on these boxes, up here, it shows you what the formula is. So this is where the answer is, but this is what's happening behind the scenes of how we're getting the answer. So some of these things will already be in your spreadsheet, and some of them you're going to type in. Then the second thing that you're going to be doing today is you're going to be putting things on this monthly comparison. I'm going to give you the name of some banks or some scenarios. We have scenarios on I'll probably give you some bank examples, and then you're going to have scenarios on an assignment page that you're going to put in here. You're going to put in this information. I will have formula written for payment for you. Okay? You'll put in the information, then it's going to figure the formula automatically. So here's an example. I looked up my bank. I bank with, it used to be Mutual, it's called Northwest Bank, about a mortgage, a home loan. If I wanted to borrow $120,000 for a house, and the best rate that they have right now, if I want it to go for, depending on the length of time, if I wanted to go for 30 years, the best rate they have for 30 years is 3%. This would be 30 years. I would be making a monthly payment, so I would put a 12 here because there would be 12 periods in the month. And then this is where my formula is going to go. Now, I've typed this on the reference page for you guys, but you're not going to be required to do this. So to get my formula, I'm telling it where things live. I'm not typing in numbers. Now, you have a choice. You could type in less. Why did I put in 5s? Oh. I was just looking at my other spreadsheet, and these all should be 2s because I'm in row 2. So anyway, times 2, and this is also not times 5, it's times E5. And it does not like spaces in there. Comma, E negative. C2 divided by E2, comma, D2. I still left those as 5s. That's why. Alright, so thanks for bearing with me there. So writing the formula can be quite challenging, and sometimes I'd probably be better off if I didn't try to look at things, to look at something else. But when you start typing payment, what it tells you is you need to know how many periods, how much is the interest rate first, the interest rate per period. So I had to do the interest rate divided by 12, so the 3% divided by 12. Instead of doing that math, I just typed C2 divided by E2. Then there's a comma. Then the next thing is how many periods are there? How many times? Well, there's going to be 30 times 12 because it's 30 years, 12 periods each time. So then I put in my years column times my periods column, another comma, and then initially I'm borrowing $120,000. So negative of whatever my principal is. You're not going to have to write that formula, so don't get freaked out. That formula is going to be there. So think, how could I find the total of the payments? Well, if I pay 360 times, right, so equal, this would be D2 times E2, because that gives us how many payments, times how much the payment is. And if I want to know how much interest, well, the interest would be the total of the payments minus the principal. All right, so I may make a longer recording during class, but this should get you started so that you can fill in some other situations and drag those formulas down.